guys, welcome to another What We Ate for Dinner This Week video. This was a simple video, but it went over really well with everybody. Sunday night we went to the Outback. I got the Bloom fried chicken and the mashed potatoes. I gave some of this to Benji. He liked it okay. And I also had baked potato soup. Monday night I made broccoli and cheese soup. I wasn't sure how this was going to go over with the kids, but even Wesley, my 5-year-old, who does not really care for broccoli, ate this up. He really liked it, and when we had leftovers later on in the week, that's what he wanted. So I spared you watching me dice everything up, but that's most of a large onion. I would say probably 75% of a large onion, and that's some diced garlic, or minced garlic, I'm sorry. And I get the kind from Costco in a large jar. My knife skills are not very good, so. And then once that's kind of boiling and smells really awesome, you put in 1/3 cup of flour, and then you you cook it, or you stir it and you cook it until, you know, it's golden and not really tasting like flour anymore. So this is several steps, but it's very simple. That's chicken stock, and here is, I believe this was 3 cups of milk. This is a very creamy sauce. And then the seasonings I use, you'll see garlic powder. And then there is ground mustard. And then salt and pepper. And you can adjust these however you want. I think this recipe originally also called for like oregano or rosemary or something like that, but we're not huge fans of those spices necessarily. So I want to say maybe it was rosemary, which I really don't like. So, yeah, you just add what you want, and then, you know, you let it go for a little bit. And then this is just shredded carrot. You could easily use diced carrots. I've done that before when I just made it for my husband and myself, and for when I made it for a friend of mine as well. But, excuse me. These are just shredded because that's actually what the recipe calls for, grated carrots. So I ended up just getting some shredded ones, and it worked just fine. And then I get the bag of broccoli. You can use whatever kind of broccoli that you want, but I get the bag, and I just cut the stems off and cut them into smaller pieces. And again, this was something that I let Wesley sort of watch me do, and that might be why he was so willing to try it. Here's some sourdough bread. We always like to have bread when I make soup, and sourdough is my favorite. And this was actually on sale because it needed to be used by the day that I used it. So, and there's the soup simmering away. It simmers for about 20 minutes. This calls for 2 cups of cheese, but I'm fairly certain I used more than just 2 cups, just because we really like cheese. And you stir it up until it's just combined, and that's what it looks like when it's all served up. It was really good. Everybody really did enjoy it. We had enough left over that we had leftovers on Wednesday night, and this is what Tuesday I made the pork and rice casserole. I've made this several times in the past. This is a good way to use pork chops. My family really likes it this. We had one little snafu with this one, but normally this goes over really well. These are pork chops that I got from Costco that were so thick that these are butterflied. So these were actually 2 that I've made into 4. This back pot has a can of cream of chicken, cream of mushroom, and milk, and you just stir it until it's well combined. Then you add in your rice, which I think it was a cup of rice, and, excuse me, that was about a half a stick of butter or so. I'd have to double check that. And you just stir that until it's combined, and that's when you turn the heat on as well. I apologize for how messy the stove is. I hadn't had a chance to clean it while I was doing this. Alright, so here normally you wrap it with tinfoil, which I did, but I didn't have tinfoil that was long enough to cover the entire thing, so I put 2 different pieces. But when it was in there, it actually rode up. So part of the rice got a little crispy. I thought it was fine. Everybody still ate it. And I just served that with some broccoli. That's what we had on Tuesday. Wednesday, we just did leftovers. The kids had leftover broccoli and cheese soup and a little bit of bread, and my husband and I had leftover pork and rice casserole. Thursday night, we did one of my daughter's favorites, which is drumsticks, or barbecue drumsticks in particular. Now, these were actually still kind of frozen, you can see, and they turned out just fine. I just cooked them slightly differently than I normally would. This is 6 drumsticks. This was part of a pack that I had that I got discounted. And drumsticks are normally really inexpensive to begin with, but I just used, this was an entire bottle. This was a honey barbecue sauce that I used this time. I used the whole bottle. Now, it doesn't necessarily get sticky on the top like if you made it in the oven or on the grill. However, the meat becomes so soft and tender that it falls off the bone. It's really good. So since it was still frozen, I cooked it on high for 2 hours first, and then I put it down to low for the next 4 hours. I made it with some French fries. I was just trying to use up some fries that we had in our freezer. And I also made it with some corn. And this is what it looks like when it was all served up. This is usually a really big hit in my house, so I knew everybody was going to like this. This is what we had on Thursday, and it even ended up being a Thrifty Thursday priced meal. I do plan to go back to that after the new year. That's what Friday's pizza nut like usual. The kids had cheese, and my husband and I had pepperoni. I had mushrooms on my half. He had ground meat and olives on his. That's what we did for dinner this week.